Hello everyone and welcome to another British English lesson here with me, Anna English. Today we are looking at the top 15 most common slang terms used that begin with the letter H. We've got some really fun ones for you today, and if you follow me on social media on Facebook and Instagram, then you would have heard me say a passage similar to this. I said, I was hanging out on the phone with the head honcho at my works today. We were haggling over pay, which was the result of a big hoo-ha. Last week, some of the colleagues were caught doing a bit of "How was your father?", a bit of hanky-panky on site, and everyone was in a huff about it. But when I said to the head honcho that the man involved was a bit of a hunk, he took the hump and hung up. So if you heard that passage earlier today and you were completely confused, if you were thinking, what is she talking about? Then this lesson is perfect for you because those terms, those slang words that I've been using, I'm going to explain all of them and they're coming up right now. So as always, I have prepared my notes. So as you're all joining me, let's get started with the first one. And the first one is this word, haggle. 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 To haggle means to negotiate a price. And in some countries and some cultures, haggling is standard when you go shopping. In the UK, you can haggle on the markets, on the outdoor market stalls, but haggling in shops is not really very common. But we do all know the word haggle, and some people do try to haggle the best bargain that they can possibly get. So tell me, in your country, do you do any haggling? And while you're responding to that question, I'm going to just give you this example sentence with the word haggle. It is, I am not going to haggle with you. It's £10, fixed price. So there you go, the word haggle. And hello everyone who is joining me. How are you? Wonderful, I've got lots of you in already. Lovely for you to join me. So the word haggle is the first word. Let's move on to word number 2. Word number 2 is, well, it's a phrase rather than a word, and it's the phrase hang out. This is a really important phrase. We use it all the time over here. So us natives are regularly talking about hanging out. Hanging out. And to hang out is to spend time with someone or spend time in a place. So I might say to you, I'm going to spend some time at home today. And instead I might say, I'm going to hang out at home today. So I'm going to spend time at my house. Or I could say to you, I'm going to spend some time with my mum today. But instead I would say, I'm going to hang out with my mum today. I'm going to hang out with my mum today. Who are you hanging out with this weekend? I'm hanging out with lots of my friends this weekend, hopefully. Okay, so hang out, and the example sentence I've given here is, they were hanging out together at the same time that I was hanging out with Michael. They were hanging out together at the same time that I was hanging out with Michael. Nice and easy. And I'm just going to say a quick hello to patrons. Patrons, the Skype room is open, so if you have any questions about this lesson, then feel free to put it right there in the patron Skype chat room. All right, let's move on to the next one. Also using the word hang, but rather than saying hang out, it's the phrase hang up. To hang up. What does to hang up mean? To hang up generally means to disconnect a phone call. To disconnect a phone call. So if you are on the phone, hello, and you want to end the phone call, you hang up. You hang up. It comes from the old days when a phone was on a line, you had a wire, and you used to hang the receiver, literally, you'd hang it back on the phone, on the main phone. So you hang up. But we still use the phrase now, just meaning to end the call, to hang up. And the example sentence I've given here is, Please don't hang up. I really need to tell you this one thing. What could it be? Please don't hang up. I really need to tell you this one thing. Don't hang up on me. Okay. So, the next slang term, you might have heard this before, but you might not have. It's a little bit naughty, and it's the phrase hanky-panky. A bit of hanky-panky. Now, hanky-panky basically is it's almost a silly term. It's a silly slang phrase for sexual behaviour. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It's very, very silly, basically. So I would expect a much older person to say this, or if someone's being silly, then they would say this. Say, "Oh, was there a little bit of hanky-panky last night?" So hanky-panky. It sounds silly, doesn't it? Hanky-panky. So sexual behaviour, and the example sentence I've given here just to help you is, I think there was a little hanky-panky going on in here. I think there was a little bit of hanky-panky going on in here. Wasn't there? Okay? Hanky-panky. Hanky-panky. There's no G in it. Look at how it's spelt. Hanky-panky. Hanky-panky. Lots of compliments coming through today. Thank you very much. Those of you being very sweet in the comments section. Thank you. That's very kind. If you are here for the first time, please do make sure that you've pressed the subscribe button. We'd love you to join our team. And when you join us, we'll do our very best to help you to improve your English. And if you are an old regular here, you come here every time, then you know what to do. Please press the thumb button and click on the share button, and let's get this community absolutely booming. Lots of people in learning English with us. So, hanky-panky, hang up, hang out, and haggle. Let's move on to number 5. Number 5's slang term, beginning with H, is hash. Hash. Now, there are many different ways that we can use the word hash, but as a slang term, if I say I've made a hash of it, I've made a real hash of it. If to make a hash of something is to make a mess, to mess something up, to do a bad job on something. So maybe if I'm plaiting my hair, if I'm braiding my hair, and I do it very messy and it doesn't look like a plait, it just looks like a mess. And maybe my hair is all in knots. I'd say, I made a right hash of my hair. Okay, so you make a mess, to mess something up. I made a real hash of that cake. I made a real hash of that cake. In fact, yesterday I tried to make banana pancakes for the very first time. I've never cooked banana pancakes before. I didn't have all the right ingredients, so I just experimented, threw some ingredients together in the pan, and needless to say, I made a right hash of my banana pancakes. They were terrible. They looked more like scrambled eggs. They tasted nice, but it looked disgusting. I made a right hash. A right hash of it. All right, the next phrase is kind of a fun term, fun slang term to describe your boss. To describe your boss. And that is the phrase head honcho. You're the head honcho, the person who is in charge. And it doesn't necessarily mean your boss, it could be anyone in charge. So if you are out as a group of friends and one person is organising you, is leading the group, I could say, who's the head honcho of the group then? So who's in charge of the group? And you would say, he's the head honcho or she's the head honcho. So the head honcho. And the example sentence here is, the guy in the corner is the head honcho. The guy in the corner is the head honcho. Okay, lovely. So the next one, the next slang word, you wouldn't see this written very often. You'd hear it spoken regularly, but you won't see it written very often. And that's most slang is words. Most slang are words that you would not see written very often. You'd hear them more often, but you'd not see them written. And this next word is the word higher, higher, which is like hi or hello. But some people just say hiya, 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 how are you? I'm well. See you then. So you have hiya and see ya for goodbye. Hiya, hiya, see ya, see ya. Okay, just going to be removing some unpleasant comments from the chat room. Do be warned that if you plan on putting horrible comments in there, you will be blocked. Not on my channel, thank you very much. Okay, the next phrase, I love this one, it's so much fun. It is hoo-ha. Hoo-ha. And hoo-ha, we generally mean a fuss. If someone makes a fuss of something, if someone causes a scene and there's maybe an argument or everyone gets upset about something, then it is a hoo-ha. And I love this phrase, a hoo-ha. So here we are, hoo-ha, a fuss. A fuss. There was a bit of a hoo-ha over the spilt milk. There was a bit of a hoo-ha over the spilt milk. Isn't this fun? I just think it sounds so funny. There was a bit of a hoo-ha over the spilt milk. So imagining someone knocked the milk over and everyone's like, oh, the milk! Oh, I can't believe you spilt the milk. That's the only milk we have. How are we going to make dinner now without the milk? I needed the milk. It was an important ingredient. Then I could say, goodness, there was a terrible hoo-ha in the kitchen today. Okay, so hoo-ha. Hoo-ha. Now, the next slang word, is the word hooked. Hooked. Now, if you say that something is hooked, you generally mean someone has been caught on a hook, like a fish. When you're fishing with a rod, the fish would normally get caught on a hook, and the fish is hooked. But we often use the word hooked to mean addicted. I'm hooked. You can say, I'm hooked on you. I'm hooked on your YouTube channel, Anna. I hope you are. You could say, I'm hooked on chocolate. I can't help eating chocolate. I'm hooked. So it's to be addicted to something. And the example sentence I've given here is, do you watch Game of Thrones? I am completely hooked. Do you watch Game of Thrones? I am completely hooked. I'm completely addicted to Game of Thrones. Okay, so to be hooked on something. Patrons, you're very quiet. Remember, you can send any comments here and I will read them out. So if you have anything to say, feel free. That's what the patron room is there for. Okay, so the next phrase, I don't hear this that often, but I'm going to tell you it anyway. And it's the phrase, horses for courses. Horses for courses. And this means whatever suits one person doesn't necessarily suit another person. So, for example, some of you here are very kind and say that you love my channel and you love my videos and what I do. Other people hate my channel and hate me and hate what I do and send me nasty messages and tell me I should never do videos ever again. And that's fine because that's people's opinion. And so what we would say is horses for courses. It suits one person but not another, and that's okay. Horses for courses. It doesn't suit everybody. Like I say, I don't hear that said very often, but it is one to be aware of because you may come across it. And it's a very odd phrase, right? A very odd phrase indeed. So there you go. Horses for courses. Horses for courses. If you have any words that you're struggling with, just ask me at the end, and any questions, hold them to the end and I will answer at the end of the session. So, the next phrase, which is another fun phrase, is, how's your father? Now, if someone says, how's your father, it obviously depends on the context, but sometimes they're not asking about how your dad is. They don't want to know about your dad, about your father. They're not asking about your father's well-being. What they're referring to is sex. So, it's kind of said that the British sensibility, the Brits, the English people do not like, feel embarrassed to say words like sex, and we don't like to talk about sex. We get embarrassed quite easily. So we have certain old-fashioned phrases that were created to protect our modesty, to save us from embarrassment. And so how's your father is one of those phrases. And rather than saying the word sex, we'd say, how's your father? So you might say, what were they talking about yesterday? I say, well, they were talking about, how's your father? They were talking about sex. Anna did a video recently. Did you see it? It was shocking. Did she? What was it about? It was about, how's your father? Was it really? So I hope that makes sense, guys. How's your father? An old-fashioned term for sex. And I've given another example sentence here to help you with it. I feel embarrassed hearing the youngsters talk about, how's your father? Okay. All right. So I've just had a message through from Eureka. Eureka says, when it comes to speaking English in front of people, I go mute or I mess up my speech. I write and read much better. How can we speak in real conversation as we practice? I'd love to hear your advice. Okay, I'll come back and answer you at the end then. So let me get through this slang list and I'll come back and help you with that question as soon as I've got through this. All right, so the next one is a really important one. You'll hear these phrases a lot. And these are the slang phrases hump and huff. Hump and huff, they both mean the same thing. And it means that you're in a bad mood. You're in a bad mood. And I hear these all the time. All the time. So the example I've given here is, she's in a huff. She's in a bad mood. She's in a huff. And he's taken the hump. So normally with the word hump, we say he took the hump, or he's taken the hump, or he's got the hump. So we talk about it like in terms of possession. He's got the hump, he's taken the hump. And she's in, make sure you use this preposition, she's in a huff, like in a mood. She's in a huff. Oh, bless. Strongway has dropped a super chat, the first one of today. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. For those of you who don't know, super chats are like contributions or tips for this lesson. And all the tips go into a pot and help to grow this community, help me to buy more equipment to make better content for you, help to buy me more time, so it saves me from doing other work, which means I can dedicate more time to you guys, to making more videos for you. And so anyone who does contribute helps this community as a whole. And as I'm on that subject, I will say a huge thank you to all of my patrons who continue to be loyal and generous and extremely helpful to not just financially helping this channel, but also offering me advice and feedback and giving me help when I ask for it. So thank you, patrons. You are awesome. Okay, so huff and hump. You're in a huff and you've got the hump. Let's go on to the next word, and that's the word hunk. Hunk. And to be a hunk is to be a muscly man. A muscly man, you would only use this with a man, not with a lady. So you call a man a hunk if he's muscly and attractive. So you could say, Arnold Schwarzenegger used to be a real hunk. Okay, so that was quite straightforward. And then we're coming towards the end. We've two left. We have the word hunky-dory. Hunky-dory. Now, I say this like honky-dory with an O, and some people spell it with an O. And I tried to do some research today to find out why sometimes it's spelt with an O and sometimes with a U, but I couldn't find the answer. So just in general, I think it's more commonly spelt with a U, but know that hunky-dory means excellent. Everything's fine. There's no problem. Hunky-dory. It's hunky-dory. I'm feeling hunky-dory today. Okay, so guys, just bear in mind I will come and answer lots of your comments at the very end of the session. So just be patient and save your questions to the end, and I will try and answer as many as I can, okay? So the example sentence I've given for hunky-dory is, no need to panic, everything is hunky-dory. No need to panic, everything is hunky-dory. Okay, the next and final slang term in this list is the phrase or the word hyper. And this is an important one again. This is going to be used regularly by natives to describe a person's kind of behavior. So if someone is overexcited, they are hyperactive is the extended term, hyperactive, which we shorten to hyper. It means they've got lots of energy and they're maybe screaming and running around and being overexcited, over energetic, and just a little bit crazy. So we normally refer to children as being hyper or hyperactive. And the example sentence I've given here is, be warned, Freddie is usually pretty hyper after lunch. Be warned, Freddie is usually pretty hyper after lunch. And in this case, pretty means very or really.